it's a literally a dreamy scenario. It's like you compare it with stuff of dreams. That's what Meghalaya is, and it has so much unimaginable natural beauty that you can just spend like months and months together if you have the time. That was a life-defining experience, if you ask me honestly, because I would just describe it as a dream for any Indian. It's so close to us.
Welcome back to the channel. If you are someone who likes to escape the crowds and dive into raw, unexplored beauty, then this episode is exactly what you need. Today, we have got a very special guest joining us. Someone who is an adventurer, a great storyteller, and an absolute travel junkie, who recently explored Meghalaya in the shoulder season. In this episode today, he's going to take us through some secret caves, serene waterfalls, villages, and some experiences which local tourists like you and me completely miss. From living with locals to trekking some mystery trails, this episode is full of hidden gems. So, whether you're planning your first trip to Meghalaya or someone who's craving some real inspiration for raw adventure, stick around because this one is all about offbeat experiences of India's Scotland of the East. Let's dive into the story. This is Travel with Save, and you are watching Meghalaya's shoulder season special. Hey, hi Kaustubh. Welcome to yet another episode on Travel with Save.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me, Prathamesh. Great to be part of this podcast, and let's start.
Also, if someone who has not never visited Northeast India or someone
Uh-huh.
who is just heard of Northeast India, so how would you describe Meghalaya to them? What was the experience of Meghalaya like?
Okay, so to begin with, when we say Northeast India, we add the word India with it, right?
Yeah.
But the typical imagination of what India looks like is very different from what Meghalaya in fact is. It's a literally a dreamy scenario, like what you it's like you compare it with stuff of dreams. That's what Meghalaya is, at least today, when I say that. Maybe 5 years down the line, it'll be so much populated and, so to speak, exploited that it might not remain the same. But today, it is literally the dream. And it has so much unimaginable natural beauty that you can just spend like months and months together if you have the time. And you don't really need a lot of resources to visit Meghalaya, if you ask me. But I would just describe it as a dream for any Indian. It's so close to us as such.
So when you say it's like it's a dreamy kind of destination to visit, what are the top three things which you think differentiate it from the rest of the popular tourist destinations across India, like maybe Himachal, Shimla, Kullu, Manali, or South India? Like India has a different topography, geography, different cultures right across, right? But
Uh-huh.
even I have visited Meghalaya back in 2023, and I know where you're coming from. But to someone who just thinks Meghalaya has hill stations or it's just the state with the highest rainfall, what would you say actually differentiates it, right? Is it just the nature or is it the culture or the places? What according to you differentiates it?
I think it's the whole package. When I say the whole package, I mean the value that you have to spend to get what you want is very low compared to other places that you mentioned, like Shimla and because I have lived in Punjab for 8.5 years,
Uh,
I can vouch for that very, very clearly. And uh, and Meghalaya is not very easy to access. Like from here, you just have to take a flight. That's true, but once you are in Meghalaya, don't expect good public transport. The roads are great, but you need to be able to drive or you need to be able to rent a car or whatever. But that's how it is. But the sheer amount of beauty that you will experience by maybe spending whatever $2,000 a day to hire a car, that is there's no return on that in terms of comparing other states of India. Like Shimla and all these things don't even come close to them, honestly.
true.
Because you have hundreds and thousands of people in safe places in Shimla, kilometers worth traffic jams in Shimla, especially in summer season with all Punjab and Delhi crowds flocking those
Yeah.
states. Meghalaya is very different. That way. There's no comparison, at least in my mind.
I think it's one of those places which has not yet got commercialized and explored to the extent it should have been. And also because you, anyone who is traveling to Meghalaya has to put in extra efforts to reach and experience the beauty of Meghalaya, right? It's not that you can just drive a car and understand what lies within the different towns and cities, right? So, you guys traveled in the month of January, right, to Meghalaya. What all
Yeah,
towns and cities you explored over there?
yeah, that's a good question. So what differentiates Meghalaya from other places in India is journey is more beautiful than the destination itself.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were very clear that we didn't want to stay in any capital cities, no Shillong, no Guwahati, nothing of that sort. We stayed for, out of 11 days, we stayed in 10 days in remote villages, essentially. Like all homestays, no hotels, no five stars, nothing of that sort.
Yeah.
Literally remote villages where sometimes there's no mobile network, there's no electricity, but that was the beauty of it. And so we stayed in one night for Guwahati because our flight reached there at 10 o'clock and there's no way that we were driving into the forest at 10 o'clock. So that was the only time we stayed in Guwahati. Other than Guwahati, we stayed while coming back from, after completing our Meghalaya leg, we stayed in Shillong for a day because that was our anniversary and then we had to make it special by staying in a decent, nice place in Shillong, which amazing crowds and all. But that was it. All other days were literally in far-flung villages. One was near a riverine, and then there was a cave and whatnot. I can talk about it later in this vlog, but
Yeah.
that's how it was.
So which all towns you visited in
Uh,
Meghalaya? So you landed in Guwahati,
yeah,
but from Guwahati, which all cities you explored?
yeah. Okay. So Guwahati, just for one night. Then there was a remote place called Maflang. Maflang is famous for valleys and death drop, valleys in terms of the natural beauty. Then, of course, Sohra. Sohra is the Khasi name for Cherrapunji. Then we stayed in a remote village called Wanken. Wanken is super pretty. Like a lot of people know, the cleanest village in Asia and all these things are in Meghalaya, but very few people know about these remote locations, which are, I would say, even more beautiful than that. Then, of course, we stayed in Phnom Penh is a riverine community on the other side of the bridge. Then Jowai, it's again a small village. And yeah, that is the end. And that's what our coverage was. And then we just ended up staying in Shillong for a day before coming back.
So before we deep dive into what all you explored within these towns, anyone who is
Uh-huh.
visiting Meghalaya, right? What is
Uh-huh.
something they should know and what is something that they should expect, right? Because it is unlike every other state one might visit, right? I
Okay.
have had my experiences when we visited back in April, but I would like to know from your point of view what, because people see the photos and they think this is what we will see or experience, right? However, there is
Mhm.
a story, like you mentioned, the journey is more beautiful than the destination. I know what you mean by that, but I would like you to explain someone who thinks of visiting Meghalaya. Is it for someone who is an explorer, an adventure seeker, or is it for someone like who is a tourist or who is someone who is fond of posting Instagram pics? Like now, there are different kind of people who are thinking of visiting places because of different agendas or experiences. What was,
Mhm.
according to you, the core reason of thinking uh, of exploring Meghalaya, right? And what people should know?
Okay, so there are two types of people who come to Meghalaya or any other place for that matter. One is your typical tourist who wants to do sightseeing, like these 10 points I want to cover in day one, these 15 points on day two, all that you can do in Meghalaya. But then you would want to stay in the capital cities like Shillong, Guwahati, maybe Sora, and all those places. Those places are good enough for that type of tourist. For the other part, which is sort of the explorer, as you mentioned, right? Those are the people who like to get out of their comfort zone. And for those people, Meghalaya is the place to go to because there are so many things which are off trodden. Like there's no clear path for you essentially for us. And that's when you get lost, you get stuck, you get into problems at sometimes. But that's the best part about it. Like you'll come out okay at the end of the day, and that's what the journey is in terms of my expedition.
So we'll just try to go place by place one of your itinerary. First
Okay.
place you visited was the Mauflong town, right? So tell
Correct.
tell me, since I have not visited this place, so what
Mhm.
can I expect? What to explore or uh, receive in this town, right? What kind of experience? Because Sora or every destination, as far as my experience, so I have visited Dauki, Sora. There are caves within Meghalaya, so there are different experiences which you can understand. But what is something which you explore in Mauflong as a town? Uh, what will you describe it as?
So when I talk about Maflang was a waypoint for us to go to Markham Valley. Markham Valley is sort of equivalent of Zuku Valley in Nagaland. It's between Meghalaya and Nagaland,
Okay.
but Zuku Valley is open only in certain period of a year. So you can't really reach Zuku. It gets really cold and all. Markham Valley is, on the other hand, it has similar topography. It's like imagine sand dunes and
Yeah.
replace sand with greenery. That's what Markham Valley is. Simple. So that's quite a journey. It's like 2 hours, I think, one-way drive from Mafla. That drive itself is beautiful. And what you see in the end, if you go in the right time, which is like right after monsoon or during monsoon, then you are in for a heaven.
Okay, so you guys went from Guwahati to Maflang first, and then you took a stay over there, or you proceeded directly to Sora?
No, we stayed in Maflang for just 1 day. So
Okay.
ours was I mean, it was just me and my wife, right? And
Yeah.
we had a small car. We purposefully took a small car. I think it was Ignis, if I'm not wrong. It has a really high ground clearance and perfect car for Northeast Indian roads. And we just dumped our luggage in the back seat for most of
Yeah.
our journey. So we were like traveling, staying, traveling, staying, traveling, staying. That was it. Right? We didn't end up staying at one place for more than 2 days. So Maflang, wherever we wanted to go to the next place. That's it.
Okay. So from Maflang you visited Sora, right? So Sora, as we know, is the Khasi name for Cherrapunji, and Cherrapunji is
Correct.
primarily known, at least to the rest of India, as the place where highest rainfall is received, right? So
Yeah.
what's the thing which you understood what lies in Cherrapunji apart from rainfall, right? So from childhood we are just told about Cherrapunji, that is the highest rainfall. Nothing beyond that is known about, in fact, the whole state, right? So what did you
Yeah.
experience and what did you explore in Sora?
So first of all, what reminds me when I talk about Sora is the openness that people there have. Like they know that their economy depends
Okay.
on tourism for most of the part, but that's true for Shimla and all the other places as well. But people here are like really open and really friendly with you. Why I say so? Because as I said earlier, right, apart from Shimla, apart from Guwahati, in fact, we never stayed in a hotel. It was all homestays all through.
Homestays.
And these are really nice places. Like it's their house and they'll give you 2 rooms or whatever is the listing that they have. So that was the beautiful part. And Sohra has a lot of, so to speak, touristy places like point A, point B, point C, but we did nothing of that. And we ended up spending all of our day one inside of a cave. It was the fourth largest cave in India, if I'm not wrong. It's called Maumluh Cave, if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. It's spelled as Mawmluh, Maumluh Cave.
Yeah.
So that was a life-defining experience, if you ask me honestly, because you will. So that cave is, I think, 8 kilometers long. Is the accessible part of it, like where you can go if you have certain amount of fitness. The other cave is 17 kilometers long. It's the same cave. You cannot traverse all of the distance, but the whole cave is 17 kilometers long, out of which you can cover 7 or 8 kilometers. All of it is underground. After first 50 meters or so, there is zero sunlight. You never see the sun. There's no light inside the cave. There's nothing inside the cave. And for people who feel that it'll be very smelly, it'll be very dark. Of course, it is supposed to be dark, and it'll be bats and whatnot inside. Smell part is absolutely not true. Darkness part is absolutely true, and that was the best part. And bats part is depends on where you are inside the cave. But if you talk about beauty, that is the highlight of the whole visit for me and for my wife as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, so hardly anyone does it. Like on the day where we went, it was just two of us. That's
Yeah.
it. Like just two people for the whole day, and we spent like 5 hours underground in that cave. So, so if you see darkness, we feel darkness when we have a power cut or something of that sort. That's not darkness. What you feel inside the cave is the darkness. You have to actually go there to experience it. By turning off a laptop screen is not the amount of darkness that you will experience. And there are infinite number of rivers flowing within that cave. So at one place, so we obviously had two guides with us. This is a professional cave. You can't just waltz into the cave, see the points inside the cave and come out alive. That is not how it works there. You have to hire professional guides to take you in. And so there is a local village association. You have to get in touch with them. They're really nice, friendly people. And they'll take you with proper gear. Like from head to toe, you're covered with whatever safety gears they ask you to wear. That is 100% required. Otherwise, my head would have been half the size, honestly speaking. And I experienced that a number of times in the cave. I don't know how many times I might have scratched my head or my toe or whatever. But that was the best part. Like in terms of the whole experience of 5 hours inside the cave, there was one point where this wind gushing inside the cave and water flowing through rivers. And we were sitting there. Literally, the guide told us, okay, just sit down, have your 10 minutes of silence. You enjoy that part. And then we can really feel our pulse from within without even touching our
Yeah.
wrist. That is something that you cannot experience in your normal
I
day
think
life. You
what
have
it
to
does
get
is
out of your
all
comfort
your
zone.
senses get activated, or you realize or you realize how your senses are working, right? At
Yeah,
mostly in our lives, we are only aware about what we are hearing or what we are seeing. But when you enter such caves, I think you try to have a sense of where you are landing your feet, what is going on around your head. Is your head going to crash? As in, all your senses get activated, and you have to be aware at each moment. I think the
yeah.
sound, light, everything works and plays its role in that cave, right? I think that's the beauty of it.
If I have to compare it with Kung Fu Panda, there's a scene like that. I think Po, right? His name is Po, the panda. He calls it inner peace. That's when you'll experience inner peace. But it has a cost to it, of course, not
Yeah.
the monetary part, but you have to be decent fit to get inside that cave because there are some really difficult sections of sort of crawling in for 100 meters without being able to sit up and all those things. But all of it is fully worth it. If I go back to Meghalaya, I'll definitely do that cave and many more, again.
I think this what you mentioned, being physically fit. I think Meghalaya requires anyone who is visiting to be physically fit if they want to explore all the places and have all the experiences, right? It's not just the caves, but I think other hikes and in fact all the waterfalls also which are there.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not like
absolutely.
the typical entry you have. There will be an office and you'll have to walk 10 steps. It will be a hike.
Yeah,
It will be a hike of
for sure.
minimum 1 kilometer, or I remember some of the waterfalls we saw down, wherein you have to descend across the wooden steps they have built across around the hill, and then you
Hmm.
reach the waterfall, or the non-great hike to double decker route bridge and Blue Lagoon. I think even the hotel somewhere in Dauki and many places we stayed where on the slope of the hill, to just have breakfast in the morning would require climbing 20, 30, 50 steps. And so each experience, I think, requires you to be physically fit also. And I think that's the way nature plays its part also. If you want to truly experience nature, I think you have to take those extra steps. Uh,
For sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
But the rewards are obviously much more than the cost that you'll have to pay.
Yeah. So along with Mauluk Caves, what are other places you explored in Sora?
So we skipped most of the commercial part. So there are other caves. Like a lot of people actually end up going to. There's a place called Arwa Caves and Garden
Yeah.
of the Caves, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
These places are definitely more accessible. Like a little old folk, and as you said, like
Yeah.
not enough physically fit people can go there.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of walking, like a kilometer or maybe 2 kilometers of walking. And then there's something called Mouse My Cave. We didn't go there because after doing this sort of cave, there's no
Yeah.
fun in doing other things, right? So we went to a couple of waterfalls. You mentioned one, Vice Vedang, but these are seasonal waterfalls. Like if you're going during monsoon or right after monsoon, there'll be like tremendous amount of water. But then there are a few waterfalls which have water throughout the year, and that's when it gets quite interesting. We went to double decker root bridge, plus Blue Lagoon. We couldn't make it to Rainbow Falls, but one thing I wanted to note in Meghalaya, at least for the time that we went to, it's shoulder season. January is a shoulder season in
Yeah.
Meghalaya. So we used to start our day at 5 in the morning. Like we used to wake up at 4:45 or something of that sort. We used to be out of the house by 5:30 latest
Yeah.
because of two things. One is sunset happens at 4:30. So by 4 o'clock it'll be as dark as
Correct.
10 p.m. in metro cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, whatever. So you need to be able to make use of the time that you have on your hands. And second is no one does that at 5:30. Who's going to start at 5:30? No one does it. So
Yeah.
when we went to double decker road bridge, I think that's a 6 kilometer hike or something of that sort. It's a downhill hike and
Yeah.
then you have to climb up again. So definitely requires a little bit of fitness. I'm not a little, quite a bit of fitness.
Quite. Yeah.
And then we were the only two people who were there in the beginning. So there was only two other people who were ahead of us on that day, and those were I think from Sweden or something, and they were staying there. Like they were literally
Okay.
staying midway near the waterfall. That's why they could start early. We were the only two people who reached there like at so early in the morning, and we had the whole area for ourselves.
Yeah.
When we went ahead to Blue Lagoon, it's unimaginable beauty, Blue
Yeah.
Lagoon. So
Good.
again, we were just two. Like, no one else was there. That was the best part. And when we were heading back, which obviously you have to cross the double route
Yeah.
bridge again.
Yeah.
At that time, it was a fish market, literally.
Yeah.
By that time, there were at least 250 people in that sort of
Oh.
cramped area. And then, okay, so I don't want to come back in such situation. If I have to ever come back again, I'll wake up at 4:30 and come even before that.
So,
But
so
that
I
is
think,
something that you missed.
yeah. So the hike of non-grade, I remember that distinctly because I was not aware what lies in the journey, right? So I was aware there is a double-decker road bridge and there
Yeah.
is a blue lagoon, right? When we reached over there, we saw they were guiding us to take a guide along with us and also
Yeah.
carry sticks. And that came upon my ego that I will not carry a stick, right?
Hmm.
And we decided we'll not carry sticks with us to hike.
Hmm.
And while it did not impact us in that much as it should have, but I would definitely recommend anyone who is not physically fit and they want to explore, they should opt for that stick. That is the first part. I think it is 8 to 9 kilometer journey, the hike, and you have to cross 2 3 hills across. I guess 2 3 hills.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
3 years.
visit those spots. The first one is the double decker road bridge. Then another 3,500 steps ahead is the Blue Lagoon, and the last is again 1,000 steps odd ahead is the Rainbow Waterfall. We missed visiting the Rainbow Waterfall for the exact reason you mentioned. The sun sets early by 4:30,
Yeah.
and we could not time our return journey back then if we had visited the Rainbow Waterfall. But I think
Hmm.
both the double decker road bridge and Blue Lagoon, I think the very fact that they lie deep inside and you have to take not just efforts, it's like it tests you, right? uh, to reach there. And the funny thing was the our guide who was there with us, he was a kind of 20-year-old kid, and
Yeah.
he was just walking wearing slippers. And throughout the journey, while we were drenched in sweat, right, because we had left, so you mentioned you left early, right, around 5:30 a.m. We left around 8 o'clock and we started our journey by around 9:30.
Yeah.
uh, and we visited in April again, so it was not
Oh, very hard.
so it was sunny.
Correct.
So while we were drenched in sweat, that guy was like just walking on road wearing a cap, and so that gave me another reality check, right?
Yeah.
Our lifestyle in city and a person who is living in the quiet nature or driven town, right?
Hmm.
That keeps you fit physically and mentally both ways, right? And it you can see it over there when you go across these hikes which test you. You can see another experience I similarly had was during the Birbiling trek which I had done.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a steep line, but it is laden with the dried leaves of the trees which are pine trees which are there on that slope. So you have to put in a lot of physical effort over there. But again, during that hike also, that trek, the guide who was a local citizen, I remember he wasn't even sweating anything, and we were like me and my friend were drenched in sweat while climbing, right? So that has always intrigued me, as in how even though we think we are fit and we are doing gym and following diet, I
Hmm.
think this small towns which are close to nature are actually what keep you physically and mentally fit both ways, right? The
Yeah.
lifestyle
There
is
are
what,
there
yeah,
are obvious reasons to it. Like the air is so pure and so clean.
yeah,
Now, if you open Google Maps, if you put in that AQI indicator thing, what
yeah,
you'll see for Delhi is like 580. It's like blood red, like something darker than blood red. I can't even describe that color. And what you'll see for Meghalaya is
yeah,
same as what you'll see for Switzerland in terms of air quality, at least the AQI part. So that obviously has its advantages. You're right about it. But in terms of guides and stuff, right? When you talk about double route, there are a few places in Meghalaya where sort of local people will ask you to take guides, but it's not really mandatory as such. So for someone who doesn't want to get lost and all that, there's like
yeah,
very clear signs and all those things. You should probably refer to blogs like what you're making or
yeah,
what Google Maps has in terms of reviews from people to make out is a guide required or not in the first place,
yeah,
right? Because I'm personally, obviously in favor of, making people experience the local stuff, but it's a personal choice at the end. And
yeah,
I can totally relate with the experience that you said. Like local people are just, they're like, it's a morning walk for us. They said,
yeah, yeah,
oh, the dogs also. Like there are so many dogs there, like, normal
yeah,
street dogs. They'll just come to the end of the trek with you and then come back with you for nothing. It's just sheer
yeah,
love for them. That's it.
yeah, yeah. In fact, I saw many people who basically stay within that valley, right? They are
Yeah, yeah.
carrying huge, you can say,
Luggage or whatever, right?
luggage, and these were not young people. These were people in their 40s, 50s, carrying with ease, going across those 8,000 steps on a daily basis, morning and
Correct.
evening, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
makes sense.
and I think it's not just the nature in only terms of the air, even the water at all the places all the waterfalls,
Hmm.
the Blue Lagoon. I think the water has a different color, texture, water you may call it, all the aspects of the water activities, all the spots. I think it's what you see on those desktop wallpapers, right? They appear
Correct.
in real to your eyes, right? I think it's just
Hmm.
surreal. Whichever waterfall you visit, whatever place you go in Meghalaya, I think one reason is because all the spots are far away from this towns or cities. You have to
Hmm.
hike across. I think that helps in keeping it and preserving it in the original
Yeah, yeah,
state.
definitely.
And I was also mind blown by the uh, cleanliness across the
Hmm.
state. So anyone who has visited across India, and this is very off topic, but if you take breaks anywhere at any roadside restaurant or dhaba, and
Uh-huh.
if you are visiting any loo washroom, I think Meghalaya I would rate it as number one
Cleanest
anywhere.
washrooms in India, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
I
Even
think,
the public washrooms.
yeah, public washrooms, and those also owned by local restaurants owners, right? They
Hmm.
were clean. Like if you visit, someone would come and clean it immediately after you uh, exit, right? And
Yeah.
they would maintain it without asking for any cost or charges from you. I think
Hmm.
that was an experience throughout the state.
Yeah,
And
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
But that being said, I think it's an important disclaimer for the old people who are probably exploring Meghalaya or interested in going there. You will not find Western toilets everywhere as such. Like when
yeah,
we talk about clean toilets, they're mostly Indian. They're super clean, but they're
yeah,
mostly Indian. So
yeah,
some people have this requirement because of age and whatnot. So
correct.
all out for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So from Sora, you next went to Wanken, right? So tell us what is
Yes.
Wanken all about, because we had not visited Wanken during your uh, trip to Meghalaya back in 23.
Okay, so Wanken is a gateway village for another trek. So why, for the previous point, why we could not do Rainbow Falls is because we were doing 4 treks in 5 days. So we
Okay.
had to sort of ration and conserve our energy. And Wanken is a gateway to another trek which we did. I can't really pronounce its name. You can look it up. It's called Bamboo Trek. Okay.
Okay.
So what it essentially means is it's just I think 6 kilometers worth hiking on top of I mean, not on top, it's on the verge of a gorge or cliff, if I may call it. And it's 1,000 feet cliff drop under your feet, essentially. So there are 6 sticks of bamboo holding together. We're walking on those, and under your feet, you can see 1,000 feet cliff drop. That's how the whole trek is. Amazing experience. Uh, uh, a challenge for people who have height phobia, but
Yeah.
it's very safe. Definitely very, very safe because the local villagers use it for their day in, day out
Okay.
routine and they maintain it very well. So wherever there is some sort of a weight restriction, they've put very clear indicators that this section cannot have more than 5 people at one time. So, and it's absolute bamboo all through. There's no concrete holding it together, nothing of that sort. 100% au naturel, as they call it in France. But that's what it is. And there are so many water puddles and streams and natural waterfalls again that you will see on the way. Pristine beauty. Like you can see the bottom of the river, even if it is 20 feet deep.
Yeah.
I can put some videos on your YouTube
Yeah.
video if you have time for that. But yeah, that's what it was.
So again, one point which you mentioned, it is built by the locals. I think that is another thing which you will see while visiting Meghalaya. All these places which are tourist attractions for us are basically built by the locals as a means of daily comfort or ease to carry out the daily activities, to go across villages or carry luggage or the single decker
Yeah.
wood bridge. Everything has been built by locals using the means provided by nature, right? It's not something you will find as concrete roads or everywhere. I think it's built using the natural resources.
I think there is a reason behind it. One reason is I think there are certain local regulations and laws which are specific to Meghalaya, wherein the land is, I mean, for example, if you compare Maharashtra or Karnataka or other states in India, land by default is owned by the government, and whatever you have purchased from the government is yours. It's not the same way in Meghalaya. So the land
Okay.
is default is owned by the community there. That's why they have to ensure its upkeep and best usage or whatever. And that's why they are so invested in maintaining that land on their own. So it's a community effort. It's not something that government is doing. I may be wrong, but it's not something that the government is sort of mandating them to do. And that's what the best part is for them.
Okay. So, anything else you explored in Konkan, or was it just the bamboo trail hike?
No, so on the way, so I can't swim worth anything. Like I can't even, keep myself afloat for 2 minutes. My wife can, but I'm not afraid of water and all that. So we did diving and all that, all these things in Vankin because, as I said, like all these places are maintained by local villagers.
Yeah.
So they have life jackets and all these things everywhere you go, and that makes it really, really safe. So we had a GoPro, and must at least explore getting a GoPro on rental if you're going to Meghalaya. Unbelievable quality footage you will get. Like I can share some samples with you, but unimaginable beauty. So that's what we did. Like we did swimming in natural lakes and natural river streams, and we did camping and all this stuff. But that was all on the way to Bamboo Trek. So we started early in the morning,
Okay.
5:30 our routine, and then we came back around 4. So it takes a whole day. And then I explored the village. Like it's a very tiny, really like not more than 1,000 people live there, honestly. So, but really friendly people. And what is Wankin famous for? Let me give you an example. So I'm sure we all have brooms in our house, right? So
Yeah.
the feathers that are, in the brooms, Meghalaya is the largest producer in the world for those feathers.
Yeah.
So we saw a lot of village, kids essentially helping out their parents and picking up that, stuff on top of their head. Really nice folks. Their smile is amazing. And that's what it was. Yeah, a really nice place, pretty people, nice, awesome place in terms of living with the local people, how they live essentially. It's nowhere similar to what you'll have in big cities and all that, but
Correct.
that's not what you're going to Meghalaya for, right? Essentially.
Correct. So next in your journey was Shomdeng, right? Now,
Correct.
to people who are unaware, right, they might have seen clippings at some point of time, or they might have seen the clippings in some travel video with no reference of the place, right? So
Right.
tell us more about Shomdeng, because I think it gives one of the most amazing sights you will ever experience, right?
Correct. Absolutely. So Shnamden is, first of all, for a lot of people, Shnamden is an unheard word. They know Dauki, but they don't know
Yeah.
Shnamden. So Dauki is a river, and Dauki is also a town. So the river flows from India into Bangladesh
Yeah.
from the border point. You can actually visit the border post. It's a fascinating place. There is really no border as such. It's
Yeah.
just a series of green rocks which separates India and Bangladesh.
Green rocks across which people are washing their clothes.
Or people are crossing as well. No,
Yeah.
because I saw that. And on a funnier note, I got a message from Airtel that you have crossed into Bangladesh and this is your daily bill for international roaming. When I was in Bangladesh, I received one call and I was not even in Bangladesh, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But it catches a signal from some
Yeah.
tower in Bangladesh, apparently. But coming back to Phnom, so there is a Dauki river which separates the two sides, if I will it. So Dauki part is extremely populated now because of the Instagram videos and stuff. You will see at least 100 tents on any given day, even if there are people or no people inside. But that's where the parking is. Like that's where you can keep the car parked. And then you have to cross the small Dunji bridge, which can hold not more than 20 people at a time, if I'm not wrong. And then walk over to Shnamding. But I would really recommend go to Shnamding, stay in Shnamding instead of Dauki, because first of all, that's remote. You have to walk like 300-400 meters with your luggage. I mean, the homestay guys will help you with that, but you have to make some effort to reach Nongping.
Yeah.
And the remote place comes with its own advantages. Less people, less crowd, more beauty. As simple as that. And on a clear night, you can see hundreds of stars. Obviously, that's true for all of Meghalaya as such, but when you have river flowing in front of you, it's a really nice sound at night and all that. Club with stars, that's a dream place, at least for night. And then you can do a lot of activities like what is it there? Like there's kayaking, there's cliff jumping, there is what else is there? Prathamesh, you've also been there, right? There's I think what do you call it? Scuba diving and all the stuff,
Yeah.
and snorkeling. Yeah. So what we did, obviously, I did all sort of stuff that I'm not supposed to do because I don't know swimming. I did cliff diving and all this stuff. I didn't do snorkeling for the only point is you can see literally the base of the
The base
village
of the
even
river.
with your own eyes. So what are you
Yeah.
going to see even by putting
Yeah.
your head in there? It doesn't make sense to me. But cliff diving, definitely nice thing to do because it's very safe. Don't have to learn swimming. I don't know swimming worth great.
Yeah.
And you have life jackets. It's just you don't have to be afraid of water. That's it. And we did kayaking. It was really nice. And then we saw a lot of boats, doing kayaking from the bridge. That's when you will get those amazing footage from for your phone or whatever, like what your Instagram does. So you'll see a boat going underneath. You can see the base of the village. You have to go around afternoon, if I'm not wrong. That's when the shadows are in the right position, and you have to be lucky if you go in the shoulder season, because shoulder season it is cloudy most of the time
Yeah.
during the day. But it's an amazing place, definitely must visit.
Yeah. So, so, so you guys visited Dauki as well, or was it just Shangding?
Just Shrouding. Dauki is you have to go to
Yeah.
Dauki to go to Shrouding. There's no
Yeah.
option as such. But we didn't
So,
stay in Dauki.
yeah. So your next stop was Minkre, right? So, so,
Yes, correct.
so what is Minkre known for? What all things?
Vinkre is known for cement factories, if I have to be honest about it. But it was a waypoint for our next day. Let me explain. So
Yeah.
our next big thing to do was Krem Shimpe. Krem means cave in Khasi, and Shimpe is just a name of a cave. So Krem Shimpe, again, as I said earlier, you have to start your day very early in the day and stuff. And so you have to stay as close to the cave as possible so that you can start very early and then end before sunset happens, essentially. So while we did a little bit of sightseeing, we went to a bunch of waterfalls on that day when we were staying in Minkre. So Rangshuri and Tepe waterfall, these two we visited. We skipped a lot of other small waterfalls which didn't really have a lot of water in the season that we went to. But Krangshuri was amazing and Fifi was like a different planet altogether. So you
Yeah.
can literally dive into most of the waterfalls, even if you don't know swimming. You'll have safety gear everywhere you want. It is ice cold water, amazing beauty. You do all of that and then stay in Minkre. So in Minkre, there are very few, there's no homestays in Minkre, if I recall correctly. There's only a few hotels because there is an industrial area. It's all cement factories. And that's one area of Meghalaya which is extremely polluted, honestly speaking, extreme,
Oh.
like next level pollution. Like this is worse than Mumbai and all this place.
Oh. Okay.
But why it is so? Because I mean, when we spoke to local folks and all these things, there are some unregulated cement factories and stuff, and then there is rock quarries near Minkre where there's a huge business of rocks getting exported from India to Bangladesh through the Dauki checkpoint at
Yeah.
the border. Kilometers worth traffic jams
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
for
I
the
experienced this.
rock
Yeah.
trucks and all that. It doesn't affect you as a normal passenger as such, but that's something that you'll face there. And that place is incredibly polluted. Like I've never seen worse pollution, at least in Northeast India. So that's where we stayed, and then we went to Krem Shimpe in the morning. You should definitely look up Krem Shimpe for some videos or something of that sort. It's like I'm sure you must have seen Avatar the movie, right? So
Yeah.
that is the reality. It exists in India and it's in Krem Shimpe. Again, quite a lot of trek. It's I think 11 kilometers of trek one way to reach the cave. And
Yeah.
once you reach the cave, you have to, there's no way other than swimming to reach the entrance of the cave. So you have to swim. You don't need to learn swimming. You can swim with a life jacket, which your guide will give you. Again, it's a cave. You cannot go alone. It's not like, you find the place on Google Maps, you'll go and come back. It doesn't work like
Yeah.
that. So you'll have to take local guides, people that are extremely friendly, and try to start your day really early. We saw a lot of people when we were coming back at 3 o'clock or something of that sort. These people were going in, and
Oh.
there's no way on earth that they can see
Correct.
anything, and there's literally no way. And so to reach the base of Kremshimbe, you can trek, of course, or you can take a 4x4 vehicle. Uh, so 4x4 vehicle, I think it costs like $1,000 or something of that sort per person. I think two-way. I can share this detail offline. But trekking is, recommended if you're fit enough because then you'll follow a different path than the villagers will do in terms of the 4x4. But at the 4x4, if you can get the 4x4 on your return journey, take
Yeah.
that because you will be very, very
Exhausted.
tired after
Yeah.
doing all of the trekking. But we got a 4x4 after trekking for like 7 kilometers on our way back. We got a 4x4 for the remaining 1 kilometer. But that was an interesting journey. We were moving like this and all. So, but the cave is tremendous. It's similar to the other cave which I spoke about, but
Yeah.
there's just a lot of water here. It's an underwater cave. There are 15 natural dams inside the cave. When I say
Oh,
dam, it doesn't mean like a not, the dam that you can
yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
It's like, different levels of water. And this cave is not fully explored yet by humans because the amount of oxygen that you have inside the cave goes down drastically later.
Oh,
So no one has fully explored that cave yet. You can only go till I think a kilometer or 1.5 kilometers. And that is not something you can do on your foot, or you can't hike there because it's a water river
yeah,
in cave, right? So
got it.
so I think I explained the bamboo part earlier. It's a similar experience here. So it's a bamboo raft that the local folks have kept there. There are two, if I'm not wrong. And you have to sit on the bamboo raft. One person on this side, the other person on this side.
Yeah,
You're half underwater. That's how it works. And these guys will take you around. So they will have a huge stick of bamboo to navigate. It's not
yeah,
a pedal or something. They will literally push the
yeah.
bamboo till the base and then navigate like that. Shit scary experience if you ask me, but amazing fun.
I
So
think I need to go back to do this.
I'll come
Right.
back
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you. And so at the end of the first sort of the dam, you have to get down from the dungy boat that you are in. You have to trek a little bit, and here it's not the same as the other trek where you have head to toe sort of gear. There's no gear here.
Oh,
There's no footwear also. So you have to depend on your natural grip. That's when it gets a little difficult, and you'll
correct.
feel scared and all these things. But that's fully natural. And that's the part of the whole package, if you ask me honestly. There's no risk because it's just water, and you won't drown because you are always carrying your safety jackets. So it's very safe if you ask me. And again, so at the end, you can't see after turning the first turn, which is like just 20 meters at the start of the cave. There is again no sunlight. You have to depend on your headlight
Land.
or whatever they call it. And that is the only part you can see. Where you point your light, that's the only part you can see. And in the previous cave also, we saw very rare fish that the guide told me we see it once in a quarter or something of that sort. So the fish is there's no life inside, honestly speaking. But there's this one squid, they call it squid, right? So there's this one squid which survives in this sort of terrain as well, but it doesn't have
Yeah,
any color. It's a transparent squid. It's extremely rare, they call it, because there's no pigment on their body. There's no sunlight, there's no pigment. They can't,
yeah,
it's
correct.
not like they can trek out and then come back in the night.
Correct.
It's not like that. And the same, squid you will see at this cave as well, but it's a colored squid. So very different experience if you ask me. And that was the beauty of it. Amazing place, very tiring, but at the end of the day, the rewards are obviously much more than the cost that you end up paying.
So I think the places or experiences which you have mentioned, I think three things people should mind or keep in check if they are thinking of visiting Meghalaya.
Mhm.
Anyone who is claustrophobic, anyone who is having phobia of heights, or anyone who is not physically fit. I think Meghalaya is not for them.
No,
Uh,
you
also,
get all of this and then go back.
also, I think visiting in the shoulder season is important because I visited in April, and me and my wife, even though we would like to call ourselves physically fit, but we know when we had the hike of non-great or other places, right? We used to do some simple things to keep our body active enough to uh, go through the experience the next day because each day has its own challenges. It's not something
Yeah.
you can prepare for, but if there is additional sunlight or peak sun above
Mhm.
you, I think it drains out a lot of energy. And these are not places where you will find an ORS or your electrolytes
Yeah,
everywhere in shops. In fact, you might not even find a stall with Maggie or egg omelette, right? You might
yeah,
get tired because we experienced that at the end of the non-great hike. We had done everything. We reached. We exited at around 4:30 p.m. and there
Mhm.
was only one stall which was packed with people, and those they were also running out of eggs. Right? We just have somehow
Okay,
managed to get one egg omelette, had it, and went back to our room. So that is the kind of thing where you should be prepared. In fact, on a whole trip, there were days where we could not find even a single restaurant during our lunchtime, as in the time phase of 1 to 2:30, 3:30 p.m., right? When we are
correct.
traveling. Because it's not unlike a typical Indian state where you will have dhabas or restaurants by the highway.
Mhm.
You won't find restaurants, and you won't find even markets stocked with all the chips and all the necessities we have in our cities, right? So that is something
Correct, correct.
which you can't plan for when you are traveling from one place to another in Meghalaya.
Definitely. And especially on these sort of adventurous activities, if you're
Yeah.
under a cave 17 kilometers, what are you going to find there? Nothing.
I
So
remember,
on a funnier note, I met one person who is apparently a celebrity, and this was at Double Decker Route Bridge. And so they had a tour. She was part of a tour group, if I'm not wrong. And we met her while she's coming back. While we were going back after doing
yeah,
the Blue Lagoon and stuff. And she was part of a tour group. She is a real life celebrity. I validated that after coming back to
yeah.
Meghalaya. And she was shooting Instagram videos, blah blah. And one of her friends casually asked a tour guide at the double route, bridge, where is the lunch? And the guide was like, "This is lunch. What you have on your plate." So keep your expectations very
Yeah,
real.
yeah,
If you are a vegetarian, the best you are going to get most of the days is Maggie. Live with that
yeah,
because the rewards are obviously outweigh the cost.
yeah. In fact, that is what I was coming to. We are also staying at most of the places in homestays only, right? So
Yeah,
I don't remember which town, but one morning, the lady who was the owner of the place. She told us, I just have omelets today. I went to the market yesterday, but they had run out of bread.
yeah, same
So,
thing happened with us as well.
and that gave us a reality check that not you travel to the market and you are not even getting a pack of bread
Yeah,
to understand and live according to that is not something we are used to, right? As
correct,
someone,
correct.
we are used to Zepto and blankets,
Yeah, yeah,
but not having bread for breakfast and just having. So we just had omelette and we
correct,
left for the day. So that is something which one has to be prepared for. And so as I told, we visited in April. I think I don't know the tourism is more because it's the summer holidays or not. But I think visiting these places, one has to be aware you won't get all the luxuries of life. You won't get ACs in hotels. There might be
yeah.
electricity cuts. There you won't get.
Mhm.
So I think in our 7 or 8 days of trip, we had lunch around 4 p.m. on 3 or 4 of the days. So we did not
Yeah,
have lunch around lunchtime, right?
correct.
And we had, I think, electricity cuts at all the homestays for maximum part of the day
Mhm.
when we were staying, right? So
Correct.
these are some reality checks you get, but then that's add to the beauty of the overall experience.
Okay.
So all these experiences you had, so you had planned them from before, but how did you book? Because you mentioned these were kind of tours, right? You had to, so you booked this prior to your trip, or you booked it once you visited the town and you looked around for tours locally.
Okay, so let me start with the beginning. So, how did Meghalaya happen for us, right?
Mm.
We always knew that Meghalaya is definitely one of the items that we have to cover as part of
Yeah,
our bucket list. But I think it was Big Billion Day sale, if I'm not wrong. So, at Big Billion Day sale, we just found that during random research, like, you're getting flights from Bangalore to Meghalaya for 3,500 bucks one way. That's like unreal price. We won't
yeah,
even
yeah.
get
Sure.
flights to Mumbai for that price on occasions. And we did not think twice. We just thought, okay, it's a 11, 12 days itinerary for us. Let's just book, and then we'll figure out our, holidays and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
we booked the flights then and there itself using whatever card discounts we had at that point of time. And then we researched, like, now we have 11 days. Now what to do with it? So that's how it worked.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was real cheap. Like that, when I spoke about it to my friends who have been to Meghalaya, they have paid at least a double amount of price from Bangalore at least. So to make it to Guwahati and Shillong as well. But that's how it started. We booked in advance the flights as well and the stays and stuff. Stays you definitely should book in advance because
Yeah.
they're very limited in terms of capacity
True.
in some far-flung villages. Most of them are available on Google. If you probably won't get all of them on like the normal websites like
Yeah.
Booking.com, Agoda, Yatra,
Yeah.
Khatra, whatever it is. But you'll find them on Google Maps. Call them, speak to them, and then whatever you have to confirm and all those things, just GPay them the advance and they'll take care of it. That's what we did. And in terms of these adventure activities, yes, you have to book most of them in advance. You can go directly as well, but that's not really recommended because if they are out of the capacity, and you don't have the flexibility in your plan, then you will end up missing on some really nice things. Most of them don't even ask for advance payments, maybe 500,000 bucks. That's it. And they're really, you should definitely try to book whatever you can in advance. Try to have a fixed itinerary, because if you have a car and if you're driving, which I highly recommend you do, you should sort of take care of most of the stuff before actually heading into Meghalaya.
Yeah. So I would request one thing, if you have any Excel prepared with day-wise itinerary and all the expenses you had, then I would suggest you, if you can share, so that we can pin it in the description, and anyone who is looking to plan, they can
Yeah,
refer it. Because
I
a
can do
lot of
that.
these things, people search randomly on different blogs, what all experiences they can have. But having an understanding of how to go about it is a different thing. People look at booking packages, but you won't find these things or experiences in packages, right? Via K3 tours or some the ABCs of tours and travels, right? They won't have this as part of their tours and travels packages. So someone who is
Yeah, yeah,
looking to plan these offbeat activities, I think that would be helpful for them.
absolutely. Makes sense. I'll send it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kaustubh, tell us. So from Mintre, you went back to Guwahati or Shillong?
So I went back to Shillong first because that was our anniversary. So we spent a
Yeah.
nice evening in Shillong. Shillong city is very pretty.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then when we stayed in a homestay, again, we chose our homestay very carefully. It was in
Yeah.
the hills and with a view, valley backdrop, pine trees and whatnot. Really nice property. And then we went to a place called, what was it? It was called a Heritage Club Tripura Castle. I know the
Okay.
name sounds confusing. Tripura Castle. It's not in Tripura. It is in Shillong, but it's a 100-year-old property. It's a majestic place. It's a very like lush green, vast expanse in terms of resorts and all this stuff. So we had a nice lunch there, and then we came back to our resort before heading back to Guwahati, of course. So on the last day of our trip, we spent the day in Guwahati because we had to go to Povitra. So Povitra is a wildlife sanctuary. Not many people know it who are coming from outside, but local folks. So we spoke to our homestay guest in Shillong, and she was kind enough to advise us that if you want to see single horn rhinos and stuff, don't go to Kaziranga, where more than 90% people go to. It's first of all, Kaziranga is quite a bit of drive. It's huge
Yeah.
again. I mean, Kaziranga is great. No one is challenging that. But Povitra is just 1 hour away from Guwahati, and it has higher density of single horn rhinos than Kaziranga itself.
Yeah.
So why go to some place which is far away when you have something in your hometown where you are staying currently, right? So we drove to Povitra again 5:30 in the morning, and so we booked an early morning safari, elephant safari, of course. And what we loved about Povitra is it's a beautiful place, very serene. Like there was no crowd on that day when we went. It was a Sunday, by the way, and even sorry, it was a Monday. And on a Monday morning, we had total 5 people turning up for the 7 o'clock morning, 6:30 morning safari. That is it, including the two of us. And from there, we even before we reached the safari point, literally on the streets for last 1 kilometer or so, we saw 5 or 6 rhinos near the street, like 100 meters or not 100, like 10 meters from where we were standing.
Okay.
So that sort of access is there, and that sort of density they have, and they usually come out in the mornings. Rhinos are very social animals, so the mother will stay with their calf for prolonged period, and that's how you'll see it in safari as well. So right, that was very accessible for us. Like just 1 hour drive from Guwahati, do the safari, come back and take an evening flight to wherever you're going. We went back to Bangalore, and that was the end of our trip. Amazing place, 10 days, 11 days for us, and really nice experiences. Memories that you'll cherish for long, and you will definitely go back to Meghalaya. But then we'll go back to Meghalaya in a different season. We want to do Meghalaya in monsoon as well, where
Yeah.
again it's a very remote. Like no one goes to Meghalaya in monsoon because it rains so much, but that's when you'll enjoy the nature in its
True.
pristine, true beauty, if I may call it like that.
I think that that trip we can plan together, because 2 or 3 of the spots which you mentioned, we have missed out on our previous trip to Meghalaya.
Uh-huh.
But one thing I missed out on asking. So you mentioned you had rented out a car, right? So if some
Yeah.
information you can share about it, because so from which place you rented, right? In Guwahati, or you pre-booked it via some portal? Any inputs you can share?
Okay, so when in cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, you will usually end up going to whatever Zoomcar and stuff
Yeah.
to get your car rentals and stuff. That doesn't work in Assam and Meghalaya for sure. So you'll have a lot of local folks who are renting out cars, mostly with Assam number plates. But so we went ahead and did our own research and spoke to I think 3 or 4 car rental companies, and we finalized on a company called Fufu Rentals. The name is funny,
Yeah.
FUFU. They had a huge fleet. They
Yeah.
also have mini buses of their own that you can rent, of course, with drivers, but the cars are always self-driven. So we chose Ignis. First of all, it was damn cheap. Like it was like 1,300 bucks or something per day.
Oh,
No,
nice.
like literally no
Yeah.
cost in Meghalaya. And it included airport pickup as well. Guwahati airport, if I may just say so. So Guwahati, we preferred Guwahati in place of Shillong for 2 reasons. First of all, flight was half the price, and Guwahati is just 1 hour away from Shillong. So I might and okay. So the best part, okay, I forgot to talk about this. On day one, when we started the trip, there are 2 roads from Guwahati to Shillong. One road is the national highway. It's a 4-lane road. Roads there are amazing. Like you will imagine a hilly area, dungy small roads, potholes everywhere. It doesn't, it is
Yeah.
nowhere like that. It's amazing road quality and stuff. So we chose a remote road. We did not go by the highway. We chose a inland sort of a through forest sort of a road, which was apparently before the highway came in. This was the main road. It's a 2-lane road, and it crosses through a bunch of villages of Meghalaya and a lot of forest cover inside that road. That itself was a great start for us. That was the first day thing that we were spending in Meghalaya, and that was a nice start for us. So we rented a car from Guwahati Airport. We returned at Guwahati Airport, including airport pickup drop, because we didn't want to take that hassle of
Yeah.
dropping car in some place and then taking an Uber and all that.
Yeah.
Because apparently Ubers are not very, well regulated in Guwahati and all that.
Yeah.
It's not like Delhi, Bombay. You will get an Uber easily, but the driver might say, "Oh, instead of 400 in the app, you have to pay me 800." Like we did this research, and that's why we said, okay, let's not
Yeah.
get into all that for 200 bucks. We'll just return at an airport. A very convenient place. So definitely highly recommended. The car was in a good condition. One thing to note is, like this is something that you will end up doing in cities like Mumbai and Delhi. You will sort of top up your FASTag immediately.
Yeah.
Don't do that in Meghalaya. There are no tolls in Meghalaya. There's only one toll booth in the entire state that we found, which was like 40 bucks. So we topped our car off with whatever, like 400 bucks, and we didn't get any of our money back as well. But that's a learning for us. Don't
Yeah.
top up your FASTag in Meghalaya.
Great. I think you have taken us through the complete trip with all the deep insights pertaining to Meghalaya. Anyone who might be thinking of planning Meghalaya, I think I'm very sure most of the spots you mentioned, right, or the activities, they wouldn't have heard of or they might not have thought of planning for it. I think this would be very helpful for those people. Thanks, Kaustubh. Thanks for sharing your time and sharing inputs and new insights on Meghalaya. Please share all the photos and videos pertaining to the Meghalaya trip so that we can uh, add this to the video. Thanks for your time.
Great. Thank you so much for having me over, Prathamesh. It was a pleasure, and definitely we will follow up on the trips that we spoke about now.
Yeah, sure.